Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56.
For a second night, protesters are back on the streets in Los Angeles, angry over the grand jury's decision not to charge a white Ferguson police officer for killing an 18-year-old African-American.
I used my door to try and push him back and yell at him to get back. And again, he just pushed the door shut and just stared at me. And as I look back at him, all of a sudden, punches start flying.
An ABC News exclusive, the first interview with Officer Darren Wilson since the Ferguson grand jury's decision not to charge him in the Michael Brown shooting. Good evening, I'm David Ono.
And I'm Colleen Sullivan. Welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. Take a look at some live images right now. Protests growing tonight in Los Angeles over the Ferguson grand jury decision. Here is a live look from Air7 HD of marchers in downtown LA. They are making their way. They've been moving through the streets. Earlier, police closed several on-ramps to the 110 freeway due to fears protesters may try to walk into traffic lanes. Right now, you can see them right now. They have made their way into downtown LA near the Staples Center, LA Live area, obviously a very busy, very congested area. These marchers have been tying up traffic during the evening commute. They started at Leimert Park earlier around 3 o'clock. They've been making their way through, sort of sitting in certain busy intersections and sort of stopping traffic. And as you can see, this area, all the traffic is closed in the direction where all these marches are taking place. Earlier today, LAPD Chief Charlie Beck was saying any of the protesters who try to make it onto the freeways will be arrested, but so far it's been somewhat peaceful. David, I know that we saw earlier during the 6 o'clock newscast, we did see some of the protesters get on a CHP car and sort of rough the CHP car up.
That happened. It was a brief moment, but it was a scary one at that. But quickly, the CHP officers descended on the crowd and they quickly dispersed off of the car. But it did look like it could erupt into something, but it didn't. They got the car out of there. No damage appeared to have been done. No injuries and no arrests either. Law enforcement has shown a remarkable amount of restraint when it comes to these protesters, allowing them to make their move through the streets of Los Angeles. This is a camera, obviously, from the ground level. There's a lot of movement there, but the crowd is working their way towards that camera. In the meantime, back overhead from Air7 HD, you can see them walking by the Nokia Center, Staples Center. We don't know what their intentions are or if they have a designed plan here. It just seems to be meandering through the streets, although for quite some time it did appear that they were working their way either to the freeway or to downtown Los Angeles, Colleen. And as you mentioned, Chief Beck said no freeways. That was a mistake yesterday, allowing them to get close to the freeway. So this time they are protecting the freeways, not allowing this crowd to block traffic, but they're doing a lot of this. When they do get to some sort of an intersection, they stop, they gather, they wait for a few minutes. Obviously, it's a huge inconvenience for travelers, but so far, everything has been peaceful, unlike we've been seeing in other cities across America, especially Ferguson. We don't see a lot of damage being done, just a very vocal crowd at that.
And again, David, you said unsure what exactly their plan is for this evening, but this group has grown in size over the last few hours. Earlier it was around 150. Now we're looking at around 250, 300 of these marchers taking to the streets. Last night, 3 arrests were made, but there was no one who was injured and there was no property that was damaged. So again, you're looking at some live pictures right now from downtown Los Angeles where the marchers are sort of stopped for the moment. And now from the latest from Ferguson, the racially charged case has inflamed tension, sparking protests for a second day in a row. And now the officer who killed the 18-year-old is speaking out. Marcy Gonzalez is live in Ferguson, where hundreds more National Guards troops were putting on the streets tonight. Marcy?
Colleen and David, we are seeing some protesters out on the streets here in Ferguson tonight, but nothing like what we saw here last night. And so far, everything has been peaceful here as well. But so many people here still upset that Officer Darren Wilson wasn't charged. His actions triggered outrage from coast to coast. And today, for the first time, Officer Darren Wilson is talking publicly about the day he shot and killed unarmed teenager Michael Brown.
He's going to get this gun away from me. Something's going to happen and I'm going to be dead. So I pull a third time and it finally goes off.
Telling ABC's George Stephanopoulos in an exclusive interview that while he is sorry, he would not have done anything differently.
The reason I have a clean conscience is because I know I did my job right.
Wilson remains in hiding, where yesterday he learned a grand jury decided not to indict him. The announcement sparked violent protests in and around Ferguson, Missouri. Masked demonstrators burned businesses to the ground. They threw rocks and bottles at police. Officers responded with tear gas. Today, disgust and disbelief as the community comes together to patch up some of the destruction.
I'm not angry, I'm disappointed.
I agree with you.
I'm very disappointed.
And Michael Brown's family, through their attorney, shared their own disappointment, angry with how the case that sparked the unrest was handled.
We object publicly and loudly as we can.
And of course, there is a lot of concern here that there could be more rioting tonight, but the governor insists that law enforcement is ready. He explains there are more than 2,000 National Guard members out on the streets tonight, and that is a big increase over last night. Live in Ferguson, Missouri, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Marcy, thank you for that report. Stay safe. In the meantime, much more now on that ABC News exclusive. Darren Wilson, the officer who will not be charged with the shooting death of Michael Brown, speaking out to ABC's George Stephanopoulos. And here's his exclusive interview.
I'd gone to open the door and get out of the car. And when I did so, as I was opening the door, I said, "Hey, come here for a minute." And that's when he turned and said, "What the are you going to do about it?" and slammed my door shut on me.
Slam the door shut?
Yes. I used my door to try and push him back and yell at him to get back. And again, he just pushed the door shut and just stares at me. And as I look back at him, all of a sudden, punches start flying.
He threw the first punch?
Yes. He threw the first one and hit me in the left side of my face.
Because, you know, some of the witnesses have said that they saw you trying to pull him into the car.
That would be against every training ever taught to any law enforcement officer. I don't know what or how many hit me after that. I just know there was a barrage of swinging and grabbing and pulling for about 10 seconds.
And then what?
I had reached out my window of my right hand to grab onto his forearm because I was going to try and move him back and get out of the car to where I'm no longer trapped. And when I felt it, I just felt the immense power that he had. I mean, the way I've described it is it was like a 5-year-old holding on to Hulk Hogan. That's just how big this man was.
Hulk Hogan?
He was very large. Very powerful man.
You're a pretty big guy.
Yeah, I'm above average.
So you try to grab him, but you feel that force.
Yes. And then as I'm holding him, I see him coming back around with his left hand. And it's in the shape like this, and it comes in through the window and just a solid punch to the right side of my face.
So you're still sitting there figuring out, how do I get out of this?
Yes. I mean, the next thing was, how do I survive? Because I didn't know
how
if
do you survive?
Yes, I didn't know if I'd be able to withstand another hit like that.
Where's your gun at that point?
I keep it on my right hip.
Mm-hmm.
I take it out, and I come up, I point it at him. And when I said, get back or I'm going to shoot you. And then his response, immediately, he grabbed the top of my gun. And when he grabbed it, he said, "You're too much of a to shoot me." And while he's doing that, I can feel his hand trying to come over my hand and get inside the trigger guard and try and shoot me with my own gun. And that's when I pulled the trigger for the first time.
What happened?
Didn't go off. The gun was actually being jammed by his hand on top of the firearm. So I tried again, and again another clicked. And this time I'm like, this has to work, otherwise I'm going to be dead. He's going to get this gun away from me. Something's going to happen, and I'm going to be dead. So I pull a third time, and it finally goes off.
That was the first time you'd ever used your gun, right?
Yes, it was.
In all your years as a police officer?
Yes.
And then what happens?
He gets even angrier. His aggression, his face, the intensity just increases. And he comes back in at me again. I was looking at him, I was just like, racket, expecting another hit, and I put my gun up and fired. Then I go to exit my car. And when I'm getting out, I use my walkie and I say, "Shots fired, 7 more cars." And I start chasing after Michael Brown.
Why not stay in the car? He's running away.
Because he's not, my job isn't to just sit and wait. You know, I have to see where this guy goes.
So you felt it was your duty to give chase?
Yes, it was. That's what we were trained to do.
And he runs out of the car, gets about 30 or 40 feet. You can now get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
You start to follow him. And then he stops?
He does stop.
Why?
When he stopped, he turned and faced me. And as he does that, his right hand immediately goes into his waistband. And his left hand is a fist at his side. And he starts charging me.
What did you think when you saw that?
I didn't know. I mean, my initial thought was, is there a weapon in there?
Even though he hadn't pulled something out earlier when he was confronting you.
It was still just the unknown. And again, we're taught to let me see your hands.
As you know, some of the eyewitnesses have said at that moment when he turned around and put his hands up.
That would be incorrect.
No way?
No way.
So you say he starts to run, does a stutter step, starts to come towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And?
At that time, I gave myself another mental check. Can I shoot this guy? Legally, can I? And the question I answered myself was, I have to. If I don't, he will kill me if he gets to me.
Even though he's, 35, 40 feet away?
once he's coming that direction, if he hasn't stopped yet, when's he going to stop? After he's coming at me and I decided to shoot, I fired a series of shots and paused.
What did you see?
I noticed at least one of them hit him. I don't know where, but I saw his body kind of just flinch a little. And after that, I paused and I again yelled, stop, get on the ground, giving him the opportunity to stop. And he ignored all the commands and he just kept running. And so after he kept running again, I shot another series of shots. And at least one of those hit him because I saw the flinch. Well, this time he's about 15 feet away. So I start backpedaling because he's just getting too close and he's still not stopping. He gets to about 8 to 10 feet, and as he does that, he kind of starts to lean forward like he's going to tackle me. And I looked down my barrel of my gun and I fired, and what I saw was his head, and that's where it went.
Right in the top of his head?
Yes.
You'd never even shot your gun before, and now a man is dead.
Mm-hmm. After the supervisor got there, I gave him the brief rundown of what had happened.
What'd you tell him?
I told him that I had to shoot somebody. And he asked me why. I said, well, he had grabbed my gun and he had charged me and he was going to kill me.
So you killed him first?
Yes.
Is there anything you could have done differently that would have prevented that killing from taking place?
No.
Nothing?
No.
And you're absolutely convinced, when you look through your heart and your mind, that if Michael Brown were white, this would have gone down in exactly the same way?
Yes.
No question?
No question.
You and your wife, I don't even know if this word is appropriate anymore. What is your dream going forward?
Like I said, we just want to have a normal life. That's it.
I guess it's hard to have a normal life after someone is lying dead.
Mm-hmm.
Something you think that will always haunt you?
I don't think it's a haunting. It's always going to be something that happened.
You have a very clean conscience.
The reason I have a clean conscience is because I know I did my job right.
Fascinating interview. And Officer Wilson says he is sorry that Michael Brown lost his life, but he says he knows there are no words that can comfort Brown's family.
And now more on our breaking news in downtown Los Angeles, stemming from the grand jury's decision not to indict Officer Wilson. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell has been following the protest on the ground. She joins us now live in downtown Los Angeles. Amy?
I'm on Olympic near Figueroa. Just a few minutes ago, that very large group of protesters went right by us here on Olympic, actually once again blocking traffic for a few moments at the intersection of Figueroa and Olympic. As I have been all along through this march, as you know, this demonstration has been going on for about 3 hours now. Again, they started in the Lamert Park area near Crenshaw and MLK Boulevard. They started marching east on MLK Boulevard, made their way to Figueroa, and have made their way now to the downtown area. Once again, for the most part, this appears to be a very peaceful demonstration, although there was a point where it appeared that the demonstrators might be trying to make their way onto the 110 freeway. We've seen the CHP, LAPD officers blocking ramps to the 110 freeway. Again, they came within a half block of the 110 when they got to Figueroa earlier when we were watching the demonstrators, but they made that turn and made their way towards downtown. As we drove here to Olympic and Figueroa, we should tell you we were at one point on the 110 freeway. We saw some CHP officers pull up on the side of the freeway looking up at a fence from an overpass where it appeared that some of the demonstrators may have been trying to climb over a fence to make their way onto the freeway. But once again, the LAPD has been very clear. They have no problem with these demonstrators peacefully doing a protest, doing their march here, but they are not going to allow them to get onto the 110 freeway. As you know, they did last night. Several demonstrators blocked the 110 freeway in both directions. We know there were 3 arrests last night. So again, Chief Beck has made it very clear that kind of activity will not be allowed tonight. But once again, these demonstrators have been on this march for several hours now, and so again, they went past us here at Figueroa and Olympic. They're continuing their march, and we'll keep you posted on any other developments. Reporting live in downtown Los Angeles, Amy Powell, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Amy, thank you. Stay on top of it. We'll check back with you. In the meantime, we will continue to monitor the protests in Ferguson, Missouri, as well as those here in LA and elsewhere around the country, and bring you much more throughout the night here in Eyewitness News. You can also get the very latest anytime at ABC7.com or by following us on Facebook and Twitter.
And stay with us. We will have more breaking news from downtown Los Angeles when we come back.
All right, quickly, we want to take you back to the scene in downtown Los Angeles. Protesters basically swallowing up some cars that are trying to get through. Let's go to Bill Thomas overhead near 7HC. Bill?
Yeah, David, it's an entirely different kind of rush hour traffic. Folks stuck in this traffic on 7th Street at Flower trying to get out of that big giant crowd. Look at the buses trying to get through on 7th Street. You know, a normal afternoon, it's real difficult navigating downtown L.A. But when you have a protest group, 300 large, it's almost impossible to get around town. These protesters now on 7th Street eastbound from Figueroa. They just crossed Flower. We understand at one point they're going to try to end up over on 1st Street, just across from City Hall at LAPD's headquarters, the Police Administration Building. They're still a good distance away, another mile and a half. But I love a good walk as much as the next guy, but this has been an extraordinarily long walk from the Crenshaw Plaza over on Crenshaw Boulevard and King Boulevard, eastbound on King, over toward the Harbor Freeway, northbound into downtown L.A. They were on Fig a short while ago, just made the turn onto 7th, and once again, they're on the way, we think, to the Police Administrative Bureau. I think they'll be there in the next probably 15 or 20 minutes as they continue their eastbound trek. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Bill, thank you for that, and more on that growing protest tonight, marching towards downtown Los Angeles. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson monitoring from the ground. He joins us live now in downtown LA. Alex?
Well, Colleen, Bill Thomas talking about the fact that those protesters are headed here to the Police Administration Building. They are preparing for that here. The LAPD is on full tactical alert. That means that officers are staying overtime to work and to protect this facility. You can see there are barriers that have been set up in front of the Police Administration Building just in case. And then back there you see so many officers are staying here on standby just in case things take a turn tonight. So far, though, things have been mostly peaceful. We want to bring in a protester who goes by General Jeff. Talk to us about the plan for tonight and what's going on, what you're expecting in the next half hour or so.
Thank you for having me. Just like last night, we tried to have a peaceful protest. You know, we had some angry folks within our ranks, and LAPD acted aggressively, and that, you know, it finally got smoothed out towards the end, and we're hoping for tonight a completely peaceful protest.
What's the main message you're trying to make?
As right now, we're totally disappointed with the lack of a grand jury indictment, and so now we're hoping for a federal indictment, as well as the anticipation that the Brown family is going to file civil litigation lawsuit against Darren Wilson.
You mentioned that you want this to be peaceful tonight.
Yes.
What kind of steps are being taken inside the group to ensure that that happens?
A lot of pre-planning, a lot of dialogue within the ranks, and we still have to allow for the passion and the anger to come out, and so it's just a peaceful word that's going out through our ranks.
But sort of a self-policing going on?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And when you see things like people climbing on top of a cop cruiser, which happened earlier tonight, the message is stop that.
Absolutely. But at the same time, you know, this is the land of the free. This is America, and people can, you know, freedom of speech, you know, freedom of peaceful assembly, and people are going to do whatever it is that they want to do. And so with a contentious point such as this and the sheer disappointment that's going on, there are people that are really just upset, and they're going to vent in various different ways.
All right. Well, we hope that things do remain peaceful as protesters head here. Thank you very much for sharing your views. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it tonight. So we are here in front of the Police Administration Building, police preparing for those protesters to get here sometime probably in the next 15-20 minutes. They are prepared. Hopefully nothing turns violent and everything is able to stay peaceful here. Reporting live from downtown Los Angeles, Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that live report. And again, Bill Thomas was saying those marchers are about a mile and a half away from where Alex is standing by live, and we will have more when we come back. Sort of all eyes are looking at Thanksgiving holiday. It's going to be kind of warm, but we're also gearing up for a big storm as well. Meteorologist Jonathan Novak here to tell us.
Oh, this looks like a... we never say for sure, especially this far out. But, I mean, it looks really good. We're going to get some rain here in the latter half of the forecast. Right now it is dry. Live Mega Doppler 7000 HD showing a dry picture. We're going to be dry through the holiday. It's going to be really warm. The winds have waned a bit for most of the area. In fact, so much so, the National Weather Service has yanked the red flag warnings for the majority of the area. Still, we're seeing some winds gusting through the canyons, the passes around San Bernardino, Riverside County, in the valleys, and in the mountain areas around the foothill areas. That means the red flag warning is going through tomorrow at 6 p.m. So the risk of wildfires to break out is elevated for one more day for those portions of Southern California. Otherwise, the winds have backed off. Temperatures are mild tonight. 68 Santa Clarita. Good evening to you. 50 Victorville. Big Bear 45. We're at 66 at Long Beach. 65 Santa Monica. Mild night after a really warm day. Temperatures were at 80 in downtown because high pressure is just dominant. Check out the arc here. All those clouds up and over the top of that high pressure. But look off to the left of your screen. You see that low? That's the rainmaker as we're going through Sunday and especially Monday into Tuesday. Big rain chances. For tonight, clear. Canyon still seeing some breezy conditions, 35. And then we're going to see a cool morning and then a really warm afternoon. 84 LA, 84 Thousand Oaks, 79 Malibu, 60 in Wrightwood tomorrow afternoon, and mid-80s in the IE. 70 forecast, LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. 2 days in the 80s. Gobble day looks good. 70s on Friday, down to about 71 on Saturday. Look at this on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Chance of rain very good, up to about an inch or more. On Monday, that looks like the wettest day right now, and temperatures are going to be cold. Valleys, IE, you're in the 80s for 2 more days as well. And then a chance of rain 1 to 3 inches with this system Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. The beaches as well, getting up to about an inch of rain in that latter half of the forecast. Until then, looks good for Thanksgiving and into the weekend. And the mountains could see some snow as well. We're going to be a little bit warm up there, and the snow level will be about 7,500 feet. We could still see a foot by Monday and Tuesday. Temps down around 39 for a high next week. The high desert looks good until the weekend hits Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Even you have a chance of rain. We'll be tracking it here in the Weather Center. Back to you guys at the desk for now. We'll have more weather coming up in a few.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Yeah, we got to think about the Thanksgiving travelers. And also when it comes to these protests, could they potentially be hurting your commute tomorrow? Take a look. We are continuing to stay on top of this story. Next at 7:30, an update on this breaking news. Protest tonight here in L.A. in the aftermath of the Ferguson, Missouri grand jury decision. That's a live picture from Air 7 HD blocking yet another intersection in downtown L.A. We'll give you an update.
This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
Our top story at 7:30 for a second night. Protesters are taking to the streets in downtown Los Angeles, angry over the Ferguson grand jury's decision to not indict Officer Darren Wilson for killing 18-year-old Michael Brown. I'm Colleen Sullivan.
And I'm David Ono. This is Eyewitness News at LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7:30 p.m. Bill Thomas is in Air 7 HD live over the marchers in downtown LA with this update. Bill.
David, these folks have a very strong constitution marching all the way from the Crenshaw Plaza in the Crenshaw District into downtown L.A. We've been following this group nearly 300 large on 7th Avenue eastbound from the Harbor Freeway. They just stopped at Main Street in the heart of downtown L.A. They're gathering all their resources, and in just a couple of minutes, they'll make that march northbound on Main up to the Police Administrative Building on 1st Street, and that's right across the street from City Hall. It's about a half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile away from where they are right now. This is still wreaking havoc in downtown L.A. as they move around all these surface streets, making it very complicated not only for car traffic, but as you can see on the top of your screen, for bus traffic as well. They should be up at the Police Administrative Building, the PAB as they call it, in about 20, maybe 25 more minutes, and we'll keep you updated. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Bill, thank you. And speaking of LAPD's headquarters, that is where we're going to find ABC's Alex Michelson to find out more exactly about how it's going there. Alex, the marchers are making their way very close to you. Bill Thomas saying they're going to arrive in about 20 minutes or so.
That's right, Colleen, and right now the police here are preparing for those protesters to arrive. We're in front of the Police Administration Building. On the street here, they have set up barricades, and they have also set up zip ties to make sure that these barricades stay together, trying to do everything to make sure that the protesters aren't able to sort of rip these out. Those barricades separating them and the people. You can see some of the LAPD officers that are waiting here. The LAPD is on full tactical alert, which allows for more officers to stay overtime to be out in the street. Some of the PIOs are just arriving here. Those are the people that will help talk to us and announce what's going on in terms of the public. You can see the street here is beginning to be shut down. There are LAPD officers on motorcycles, well, maybe not quite shut down yet, look like that for a moment, but the motorcycle officers will be the ones who will shut down this street eventually for those protesters to make sure that everybody is safe. It looks like there may be a few protesters that are beginning to arrive to meet them here. Obviously, what Bill was talking about is a very, very long walk. I mean, that is an exhausting thing to walk all the way from Leimert Park all the way towards over here. These protesters have been walking for several hours now. We talked to one protester who's here, an organizer, who said that they're trying to keep things peaceful, that they're talking amongst themselves to make sure to keep this situation peaceful. But this is the target. Of course, the police have been the focus of so much anger because of what's happening in Ferguson. The police here are well aware of that. They say that they are expecting for things to remain peaceful, but they are prepared just in case. They have their gear out, and for what could be a tense situation here, hopefully not, though. That is what we are looking at right now. We are live in front of LAPD headquarters. Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Alex, thank you. We're going to check back with you as the protesters get closer. In the meantime, ABC's George Stephanopoulos sat down with that officer not charged in the shooting death of Michael Brown in Ferguson. Darren Wilson says he stands by his actions and that he only fired his weapon after Brown had punched him and attempted to take his gun. Wilson says he feared for his life.
He gets about 8 to 10 feet, and as he does that, he kind of starts to lean forward like he's going to tackle me. And I looked down the barrel of my gun, and I fired, and what I saw was his head, and that's where it went.
Right in the top of his head?
Yes.
You've never even shot your gun before, and now a man is dead.
Mm-hmm. After the supervisor got there, I gave him the brief rundown of what had happened.
What'd you tell him?
I told him that I had to shoot somebody. And he asked me why. I said, well, he had grabbed my gun, and he had charged me, and he was going to kill me.
So you killed him first?
Yes.
Is there anything you could have done differently that would have prevented that killing from taking place?
No.
Nothing?
No.
And you're absolutely convinced, when you look through your heart and your mind, that if Michael Brown were white, this would have gone down in exactly the same way?
Yes.
No question.
No question.
Wilson tells George Stephanopoulos that he's sorry that Brown lost his life, but he knows there are no words that comfort his family.
And during the announcement last night, the St. Louis County prosecutor repeatedly referred to the influence social media has had on public opinion in the case. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda takes a closer look at the role social media posts are playing in the frenzy surrounding Ferguson.
Bothered me for a while.
A protest about Ferguson at USC this morning. Many of these students say they found out about this through social media, messages spreading in seconds.
What we now have is real-time communication. If you want something to happen right now and you need to get the word out, you can send it out by Twitter and Facebook and Yik Yak and everything else. People will find out now and can act on it right now.
Most students might have several hundred Twitter followers, but the messages really start to have an impact when they're tweeted by athletes or celebrities with millions of followers. Kobe Bryant sent out a tweet saying, "The system enables young black men to be killed behind the mask of law. Hashtag Ferguson, tipping point, and change." And Magic Johnson said, "I am very disappointed with the decision in the Mike Brown case in Ferguson." Actor James Franco tweeted, "Love to Ferguson," and Cher said, "OMG, nightmare. What does looting and setting fire to innocent people's stores and cars have to do with Michael Brown death? It's not protest, it's crime."
What we call influencers, people with a following, like celebrities, they need to know that now they are truly thought leaders. Once they say something, it can get out there, and it can get out there very fast and to a very, very wide audience.
People we spoke with say social media is so fast and so powerful that celebrities and others with huge followings need to be very careful.
Celebrities with as much influence as they have should not be, saying things that maybe are untrue or that they don't know too much about.
When you have influence, you have responsibility. Once you have that many people who look to you for advice, or even if you don't see it as you bestowing information on them, they see it that way. So.
And another concern for celebrities or anyone who tweets, once that message goes out, you lose control of it. Anyone can use it or abuse it, and you can't take it back. Reporting from Exposition Park, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And you can get all the latest developments in the Ferguson fallout with our free ABC7 app. With breaking news happening, you will get an alert on your phone or your mobile device. Download the app for free from the App Store, Google Play, or Amazon.
In the meantime, we are following protesters marching through downtown Los Angeles, seeming to head their way towards the police headquarters. Alex Michelson is standing by there. We're keeping an eye on it. We'll be right back.
And we are back out live overhead with Air 7 HD looking at the marchers taking place going through downtown Los Angeles. Of course, they are protesting what the grand jury's decision was in Ferguson, Missouri last night, not to indict Officer Darren Wilson. Again, they have started earlier today around 3 o'clock. This march has been going on. It started in Lamar Park. It is making its way towards LAPD's headquarters. And at LAPD's headquarters, we're going to find ABC7's Alex Michelson, who is live on the scene to tell us exactly how police are preparing for the marchers when they arrive, which is in just a few minutes, Alex.
And Colleen, let's talk to police to find out how they're preparing. Joined now by Andy Nyman. What's going on here right now? What's the plan for tonight?
Well, as we've seen all night, we're monitoring the protesters. We're doing our best to facilitate their First Amendment rights. That is our posture. We'll continue to maintain that posture, and if somebody decides to not go along with that in a peaceful manner, and if there's any destruction of property or any violence, then we will intervene.
The LAPD is on tactical alert right now, which means there's more officers here. We can see some protections have been put into place here to protect the building. Sort of, what's the process when they arrive here? How does it work?
Well, again, our job is to facilitate their First Amendment. The reason that you see some barriers here and that you see officers here is that obviously we're very aware of the issues that are involved here. There's a lot of emotion out there, and in order to prevent some people from doing things that they may not normally want to do, we put some protections in place here at our police headquarters. There's officers staged throughout the city, and they're able to respond at a moment's notice if we need them. We're hoping that we don't need them. You know, we would love for people to come here and protest and do so in a peaceful manner, and we'll be glad to facilitate that.
Obviously, some of the protests in Ferguson have turned violent. What are the lessons that the LAPD has learned from that, maybe learned from its own past in terms of riots, to prevent something like that from happening here in Los Angeles?
Well, we certainly have had a history where we have learned a lot of hard lessons here in Los Angeles, and what we have found that is through collaboration and through reaching out, we have a very extensive outreach program with our community relations section, our labor relations. All of our community leaders are on the speed dial of our commanding officers at every division, and that's really what it takes. It takes a dialogue. You got to open that door. You got to have the dialogue with people in order to make sure that we don't have misunderstanding, miscommunication. Tonight we've had very good dialogue with the protesters and the demonstrators, and some of these so-called leaders of those groups have given us their intent, you know, and they told us that they were going to do certain things, and we've done our best to facilitate that, and we'll continue to do that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hopefully everything stays peaceful here tonight. Appreciate it, Andy Nyman. Obviously, we'll stay on this situation. Just as you can see, there are officers now have begun to put their helmets on. They're getting into a line here, preparing for those protesters to arrive. We have seen some positive interactions between police and protesters here, but those police waiting for that large group of protesters to arrive here at the Police Administration Building. Reporting live from downtown Los Angeles, I'm Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Well, they are getting closer, Alex. We're going to check back with you as they approach. In the meantime, Men's Central Jail in downtown Los Angeles is known as one of the roughest lockups in the country, but one wing of this jail stands out not as a violent place, but as a refuge for the incarcerated gay and transgender population. These inmates would be in grave danger elsewhere, but inside this unique wing of the jail, they found safe haven, away from gang rivalries and inmate-on-inmate violence.
I'm sitting in the K6G wing of the Men's Central Jail. These are gay and transgender inmates, people who, for the most part, are nonviolent offenders. Almost all that I met today are here due to drug addiction. They are segregated from the general population for their own safety. This is what life could be like. An inmate escapes from a cell, which is very possible in this antiquated jail, and with a homemade knife attacks another prisoner. It is a frightening environment.
They want to hurt me, just for being what I am, what I'm portrayed as.
33-year-old Erica Anderson is transgender.
So you are on hormones?
Yeah.
Even though you're in jail?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, they give you, if you're on medication when you're on the streets and you come here, then they provide that to you, but only if you were on the street.
For someone like her, just taking a shower is frightening.
Well, I had breast implants, so it's painstaking at times, You know, because I don't always like to be looked at, you know. Still have to worry about certain situations like that, you know. People are going to be animalistic anyways.
She is a perfect example of why this jail has a special wing, a place where these prisoners are safe, but also can get help. They're offered a variety of special classes, from dealing with drug addiction to getting an education. 2/3 of the 400 inmates in this section take part in these classes. But there are complications in this place as well. Being locked up together, relationships can develop. Sex is not condoned, but even so, condoms are given to the inmates.
It is a complicated issue because having sex in a county jail is illegal. However, with public health concerns, we felt that it was better to at least offer the condoms so they would be safe.
Anybody who thinks living in these conditions with these prisoners is some sort of utopia is sadly mistaken. Bunks are stacked on top of each other. 160 people live in this one room. And as you can see, when you have to go to the bathroom, the toilets sit right out in the open. There's absolutely no privacy here.
Still very much a prison, but for some, like hopefully Erica, an opportunity to turn your life around.
I have all these tattoos, and I have a crazy look, and I'm a transgender, so all that together, it's like it's automatically, I can't get a job. Like, it's been so painstaking. You know, it's rough out there, and that's why I say it's easier to come in here. Now I have a direction, you know, I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do when I get out. I have a goal, you know.
This is Erica's 4th time behind bars. Admittedly, drugs have gotten the best of her to this point, but says this time will be different thanks to the special wing, and she gets out in January.
And we have more on our breaking news out of downtown Los Angeles, where we're seeing protesters making their way through the streets of downtown LA, and they are starting to just arrive at LAPD headquarters. We'll be right back with more on this breaking news.
Breaking developments right now. Protesters have arrived at LAPD headquarters. There you see Alex Michelson right in the middle of the crowd. Alex, how's it going?
David, it is peaceful here so far. The protesters have arrived. They are now facing right at the LAPD, saying chants of no justice, no peace, saying that there's been racism in the police department. Jasmine Carrick is here, who is a community activist. What's the main message that people are talking about here tonight?
I think the main message is that they're tired of police brutality and officer-involved shooting where unarmed black and brown people are ending up dead and there's no consequences, and it seems as if the system doesn't care.
How are you ensuring that this remains peaceful tonight?
Well, I'm not an organizer of it, but I think everybody who came out tonight has been pretty peaceful. I mean, they want their message to be heard. It's not just about Ferguson and Mike Brown. It's also about the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, Ezel Ford, Omar Abrego, and other situations that happened here.
Jasmine Carrick, thank you so much. A longtime community activist in the South LA area. You can see we are now surrounded by some of these protesters, many of them looking right at the LAPD. The LAPD basically standing there with their helmets on, but there's not been provoked, and right now everything is peaceful, but people here obviously frustrated and angry, letting their frustrations be known after what happened to Michael Brown and Officer Darren Wilson not being indicted. So that is the situation here live in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Alex, we're going to show a quick shot from overhead Air 7 HD. That's the big crowd that is gathering outside LAPD headquarters. Alex finds himself right in the middle of that crowd, and his first description of what he's experiencing, Colleen, is the fact that this crowd, they're loud, but they are peaceful.
And that's exactly what law enforcement are encouraging. They have no problem, they are saying, as we heard Officer Andy Nyman saying earlier in Alex's interview, no problem with people coming out and doing a peaceful protest, but they still have some safeguards up. They do have some barricades and lots of extra police officers out there in front of LAPD's headquarters. And also moving on tonight, we're going to kind of talk about our weather and our forecast. And we've been sort of monitoring some of the Air 7 HD from one of our videos, and it does show some officers sort of creating a line.
They're kind of moving into place. There you go. That line of officers is now moving into place in preparation for just keeping this crowd under control. Alex pointed out that they have barriers set up. And hoping that the crowd does not go over those barriers. Obviously, with these officers moving in right now, there's a little bit of concern that these barriers may not hold the crowd. And you saw those barriers right next to Alex. They go up about hip deep on you, but easily they can be jumped over. So we saw a kind of dramatic movement of this line of officers move forward towards the crowd. Now, a lot of times when we see these protests, it's movements like that can sometimes incite the crowd. Hopefully, in this situation, it's not doing anything except keeping the crowd back. But we are monitoring this, watching very closely. A large police presence going on right now in downtown Los Angeles.
And let's head over to Air 7 HD and let's talk with Bill Thomas about what you're seeing from above, Bill.
Yeah, we're seeing that huge crowd here on 1st and Main right in front of the Police Administration Building. Now, look at this row of police officers right here confronting that crowd. Just behind that row, we're pushing as tight as we can. You'll see what looks like something that's splattered here. We think somebody on the far left of your screen threw some kind of a bottle. It crashed right there behind those police officers. As best as I can tell, none of the officers were hit or hurt, but that is one of those things that could make this thing get a little wild. Look at all the additional officers behind those officers, and that crowd estimated to be about 300 deep in front of the PAB, the Police Administration Building. We'll push in just a bit. You see the stairs there that lead up to the Police Administration Building. And it's hard to see that, but in front of those stairs there are some gates and some barricades stopping people from accessing the Police Administration Building, and that's what officers want. They want these people to come out, say what they have to say, do what they want to do, but keep them off of the grounds. And so far they've been very successful, very limited confrontation, but officers are getting into place right now. They're going to move in, and just in case that crowd breaks down that barrier, we had reports of at least one or a small group of people trying to break through at least one barrier. They are in position to stop that. There's one guy right there. He's got his hands up. He's being talked to by police officers. They've got the photographers out here as well, and they will start pushing these people back if they try to get through that barricade. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Bill, we're going to stay with this. Clearly something is going on right there at the barriers. A large group of officers has come forward now. They're literally engaged with the crowd right now. My assumption is that maybe people are trying to go over the barriers or push in the barriers. It's very clear. We saw about a dozen, maybe more officers run towards that corner where the crowd is gathering, Colleen. It did seem like the crowd was trying to go over those barriers.
Yeah, well, I guess we're being told that the crowds are pulling in sort of that fencing a little bit. So I know that Alex said there were some zip ties on there. And again, the LAPD says they know there's a lot of emotion going into this protest right now, but they are hoping it will stay peaceful. You did see them really make a mad dash towards that barricade where you see, you know, one officer came out and then they just all sort of came rushing over to that corner. Hopefully they did get this under control, but it seems that that things are calmer now.
Well, we're watching this closely. Obviously, things are going on in downtown Los Angeles. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with an update.
And more on breaking news out of downtown Los Angeles. You can see a crowd here. It looks like some sort of tense situation, maybe a confrontation taking place. Let's go to Air 7 HD and Bill Thomas. Bill?
Yeah, it's been happening for several hours, this march from the Crenshaw District into downtown LA, and it's been relatively quiet much of the afternoon, but getting a little out of hand right now. We're in front of the Police Administration Building. This is on 1st and Main in downtown LA across from City Hall. The bulk of the crowd has gathered on the northeast corner of the complex. They're pushing those gates forward toward police officers. Police officers have all gathered into this one little corner trying to push the crowds back. So far, no one has breached the fence that surrounds the steps which lead to the building, and that's what they're trying to do, keep that large group of protesters away from the building, and we'll keep you updated. Live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
We're going to watch for a little bit longer, Bill. It did seem like there was some sort of pushing and shoving, and we could see a lot of flashes going off, folks trying to document that moment. Apparently, it did look like some sort of a struggle. Folks want to get a capture that on film or on some sort of image, but it does seem to have slowed down a bit. Of course, we're going to stay on top of this situation. We'll stream it live on ABC7.com, and I'll have a lot more coming up on Eyewitness News at 11 p.m.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you back here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.